auto top-off unit. And I'm going to be doing it the budget reefer way. I mean, you could pay $100, $200 for an ATO that has valves and solenoids and all kinds of failure points. Or you could make a gravity-fed ATO. And I will be working on that during this video. Now the way it's going to work is that there's going to be two pieces of PVC pipe coming out of this. One will be shorter. That's the one that you place right at the level you want the water in your sump to be. Or if you have an all-in-one, it's the level you want your tank to be at. And the other one is a little longer. And the way it works is you fill the reservoir all the way. This then creates a vacuum of sorts. That is to say that when the water level drops enough, the line that is shorter gets exposed to air. So they'll add enough air displaces the water that's in the ATO, and it allows water to flow briefly because that air displaces a little bit of the water. But as soon as water gets back in, or enough water gets back in to cover that shorter line again, there's enough of a vacuum still in there that the water will stop flowing out of the longer tube. Now, the one that I'm going to make, I'm going to turn this around so you can see what I'm about to do. That is going to be my ATO reservoir. And as you can see, I have a hole saw here. And I have two of these. And as you can see, get it up there so you guys can see it, hopefully read it. It's a 3/4 inch bulkhead. So that is what we are going to do today. Hello everybody. It's good to see you on here. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, guys? I hope you guys are doing awesome on this beautiful Sunday. And hopefully you guys have had a really good weekend so far. So, without further ado, I'm going to get this thing ready to take a hole saw. We're going to make a little bit of noise, God knows, but it will be worth it. Alright. Why you're not wanting to move for me, I'm not sure. There we go. Well, actually, I am pretty sure as to why. Because sawdust gets in the way. But, and let's see how clumsy I can be today. Alright, get back in there. I had it in there. There we go. I knew you could do it. So what's new, guys? You guys have any questions? I do have some news. And I can guarantee the Perseverance Reef will never be the same again, because not only will I be getting some Montipora in just a few days, I'm going to be getting my first acro. This tank's going to really start getting colorful soon. Although these are the first acros to go in this system. And although my parameters have been fairly stable, especially considering some of what this reef has been through, you know, it's still possible that because my nitrates are so high right now, they're like in the 60s. I want to say the last one was 63 or 61 was the last one. So, you know, nitrates are high, phosphates are a little high, but certainly not so high that acropora should turn brown necessarily. But it's possible that they will brown, but they also will regain their color as time goes on. But they're going to have to get used to my system. But as long as the parameters stay stable, that'll all work out. So, at any rate, back to the task at hand. And tighten this nut a little more so that this thing doesn't want to just fly off. That might cause a few problems. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We're going to make a little bit of noise here, momentarily. I see the dogs left a crumb. A big crumb. All right. I'll make the first hole right here. I love how plastic is so much easier to go through than wood. And I'm going to make another one right here. Okay, just like that, we have 2 holes. I'm going to deburr this a little with my hands. As we certainly don't want this in the ATO water, I don't think. You can see the holes. You can kind of see the burrs that are along the sides of these. I mean, it's not super bad. And if it doesn't want to come off like this, I have a really fine sandpaper that I might hit this with. Well, no, this came out pretty good. And what I'm going to do real quick, guys, I forgot to bring some napkin or some paper towel out here. I need a little wet paper towel and a little dry. But I'm also going to try and get a little sandpaper on some of this, because some of this is pretty thick. It's kind of hard to see, but it's definitely there. All right, I shall return momentarily. Whoa. If I don't trip over everything first. Okay. One more thing. You'll need. A little reservoir of RO water. That's the new. Okay. Good. All right, guys, so what I want to do real quickly, before I get too far, I'm going to take this in a little RO water. It doesn't really have to be RO water, but it does clean a little better than regular water, because RO water is quite good at dissolving things. And I want the whole bottom of this clean. Now this is, when it's done, it's going to sit partially in the sump, which is what we want, because there's not a ton of room under there or behind it. I recently moved the whole system, as I'm going to show it to you in a little bit once I finish cleaning this up a bit, and once I get the deburring done. I'm going to show you what the system is looking like, and after I get the bulkheads in, because bulkheads are the easy part. Yeah, that's much better. We have dogs, and there are two of them that really like to pee in the house. So I gotta make sure that none of that. I mean, technically speaking, it probably would technically be good for the tank. Technically. You notice I'm using that word a lot, because I cannot see a way in which I would want dog pee in my tank. There just is something not so good about that. Now, where did I put? I just had that sandpaper a second ago. All right. I am scatterbrained tonight, I guess. Leave it to me to drop this and not notice. See, I've got some fine sandpaper here. And try and position this a little so you all can see. We're just going to come along here. I may not be able to totally flatten this like this, although I might. But whatever I can't flatten of some of this plastic that's here, because I mean, as hot as those hole saws get when they're working, there's a lot of friction. But sometimes it does kind of mess with the shape of the edges. Side, in fact, is bad enough I might have to get a little more aggressive with some of this. I'm going to have to do this also to probably the inside of this as well. And this takes care of this side. This is supposedly 3,000 grit. Whether it really is or not, I kind of have my doubts. But it'll do for this. Excuse me. So, what are your favorite corals? What corals would you like to see in Perseverance Reef? And what kinds of animals would you like to see in this reef? Please comment, like, and share and subscribe if you like this content, because it helps the channel. And I would certainly love to hear your opinions, because, you know, really, this is our reef. And, you know, it in a way belongs to everybody that listens. I want to hear your opinions on what you would like to see in here. Now, I can't guarantee that it would be compatible with the animals that are already here, but I certainly would weigh in on what you guys would have to say about it. And later on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit parts of this live, and I'm going to use it to make a shorter, more concise video on the process of building this ATO. But I just happen to be fortunate enough that I had the parts to do this with already and on hand. So, got most of the small stuff, which is what I really wanted right here. Yeah, let's see if the inside. The inside actually looks really good. Look at that. It's actually pretty clean. I'm not going to have to do a lot of sanding on this side. But I will still need to do some. And the reason I'm doing this sanding and cleaning these edges and everything so good is because we do not want there to be any unevenness, because the bulkheads need to be able to clamp down the silicone washers, the gaskets I mean. They need to sit flush, because if any of it is uneven, like in this area or in this area where the flange and the gasket are going to meet, you know, like this, you don't want this. So I am going to do something a little more aggressive about this. But these are really good. These are good and even. I mean, yeah, there may still be a little hair of plastic here and there in this part, but you know, this is now even enough that I wouldn't worry about leakage. This, however, see how this is like that? That will cause a leak if I relieve it and just put a bulkhead over it. With that, I'm pretty confident. So, I'm going to actually try to use the hole saw to knock a little bit of that off as soon as I get some of these little plastic pieces off of here. But I would say so far so good. But I mean, why not? Recycle what you have. These buckets come in handy for so many reasons. And I just about have this off. There we go. Yeah, that's working. That is better. And I got a little too overzealous. And that's okay too, because I have the perfect solution for that. Yes, I accidentally got a little overzealous. Can you see? This light isn't the best in the land. I realize that, and I hope one day to fix that. But if you look, you can see that divot right there at the bottom of the hole. That would cause a leak. So, what do we do about that? Well, I'm going to do a little light sanding again in that area. And I'm going to pull out one of my all-time favorite fix for situations like this. And this fix also happens to be one of my favorites. Unfortunately, I had this on hand already too from other projects. Where did I put you? Again. I hate when I get scatterbrained, but sometimes I do. 1 moment and I shall return. There it is. See this? This is awesome stuff. It's JB Water Weld. Well, I kind of have it upside down, but you can see. And what this does is it fills in, it's a putty that will fill in this gap and allow me to put a flange, or put the flange on this side and the gasket on the other, which is what we want. So, I don't know if you guys have ever used a putty like this. It's very similar to the putty that people use for coral, except quite frankly, it's superior. And although they don't say it explicitly, this stuff's reef safe. I have used it so many times for so many different projects. It's not even funny. So yeah, this is absolutely, there it goes. This is absolutely reef safe. Now I will only need a very small bit of this. What's nice about this is the way it comes. It's a two-part epoxy. Epoxy, however you want to say it, tomato. And you see how this has two different materials in it. As long as they stay like this, it stays stable. It doesn't dry up or anything. But the magic happens when we do something like this. I'm going to put this back. And we're going to mix the two. I'm going to knead it a little with my fingers. A lot of people say, you shouldn't do that. Well, there's a lot of things you shouldn't do, I guess, in life. But this particular one is not going to kill me. Not in the small amounts that I use. Now, if you were going to use, like, whole, like, 2, 3, 4 containers of this, I wouldn't do this necessarily without gloves, but for my purposes, this will work. Now, see, I can already feel it starting to get tacky. It's pretty much ready to go. I need just enough to get into that hole and to stay there. not take this long to be ready. I'm going to add a little bit more at this point. Just to really make sure that this is good and smoothed out and level enough, like I said, to put a flange over. And I think we should be pretty well set. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to lose a little of this. But I would rather that than not have enough made, you know. So what I'm going to do is ensure this stays shut. I'm going to take this end, and I'm going to put this in here like this. That'll keep moisture out of it, and it'll force that to stay shut. Now, 1 second while I dispose of this, unless any of you want it. Which I doubt. So, 1 moment. So now that that's been done, and while that is still a little bit on the tacky side to where it's slightly malleable, now we're going to put this on that side. And I also washed as much of that epoxy off my hands as I could. Of course, I didn't quite get it all, as you can see, but it won't hurt anything for now. All right. And what's going to happen here is that the flange is going to go on the inside. The nut will be on the outside. But yeah, we want to make absolutely sure that just in case something could get by this flange, This nut being even with this and not having this problem, it'll repel any, it'll prevent leaks from happening. That's what I'm trying to say. And you see, there you go. Get all the way through. Good job. I knew you could do it. Yeah, you gotta encourage it sometimes. All right, maybe not, but it still sounded good. So where are you guys from? I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. And how many of you guys have reef tanks? Or even just, excuse me. How many of you guys have reef tanks or even just regular freshwater tanks? What kinds of fish do you have? That's in there pretty good. I think that's pretty good. All right. So here is the first bulkhead. And you see the flange end from in here. Right. Okay. Again, I hate that this light is like this. I hope one day to be able to actually improve my lighting. One day soon, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of videos like this. Because I'm going to be doing a bunch of projects like this. So, I'm going to go grab the second bulkhead, which should be right here. And it is bulkhead number 2. Both will be 3/4 inch. And I have to grab the pipe and a hacksaw. I'm really excited about the coral that is coming. There will be 12 corals coming, and they're coming on Wednesday, according to my friend who's going to be shipping it out to me. He's a really kind guy. The only thing I had to do was to pay for shipping. I mean, you can't get a better deal than that. I mean, he even puts heat packs in and everything. And that'll be a good thing considering, although the temperature will be fairly warm by day, at night we're going to be around 50, maybe even the upper 40s Tuesday night. But Wednesday, we will be near 70 for a high. You better enjoy these days while you got them, because we won't have them much longer. Although if you're like me and winter's your favorite season, there's so many reasons. And this is what we now have. And what will happen is, I'm going to go grab a hacksaw here real quick. Now I'm going to show you the way this is going to work momentarily. I'm going to go into my little box of goodies that you can actually... I probably have it in this box here. I'm trying not to go through real quick. But at least I can still be talking into the microphone. I do have 3/4 inch pipe somewhere in there. And all this mess. I need to find it real quick. So, yeah, it's got to be in there somewhere. unfortunately, here, well, I'm sorry it took so long, guys. Unfortunately, as is often the case, Murphy of Murphy Law's fame, Murphy's Law fame, I should say, has struck again. I thought I had a long pipe of 3/4 inch PVC, and I don't, but I do have this little piece, and this will be perfect for the small part, or for the shorter length. So see, it would go in like this, and then the shorter one would go here. Actually, let me check something, because this acts. Oh yeah, because it wants a threaded. That's right. So yeah, I will need to get an adapter, a 3/4 inch to 1 inch adapter. I may just do that because they will be slip. But the point is, that would go in here. This would be the shorter one. Oops. This will be the longer one. And when the air gets into here, like I said earlier, I gotta position this a little better. This is how it would look. And what would happen here is the longer one here would be in the water at all times. This would be right at the level we want. And as air would get into that, from the water level going down too much, it would allow enough water, it would displace just enough water to plug the leak, listen to me, to put the tank back at the level it's supposed to be, the water level. And I'm sorry guys, sometimes I have a hard time speaking, and part of that is because, unfortunately, about 10 years ago, I had a brain bleed. So it does kind of make things a little harder that way. But I wanted to do a live today so you could actually see this process. Now what's going to happen is once I get that longer line, I get the adapters that I need, what'll happen is, at the top, I am going to have a means. I'm going to take some pipe, probably cut another bulkhead in here, whereby I can fill this thing all the way full from outside the sump in an area where it's going to be very easy to reach. And to maintain a vacuum after I've filled it, then I'm going to shut off the valve so that water, so that air can't get in and a vacuum would be maintained, which is what we want. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to put that lid on. So that lid's pretty tight, pretty airtight. And it's designed that way, obviously, because you don't, when you're shipping salt out, you don't want it to be, you don't want moisture in it, because it'll begin reacting. The elements in it will begin reacting and pretty much mess up your salt. So at any rate, what will happen then is the lid's going to get a hole drilled in it. Like I said, it's going to get a bulkhead too. And like I said, once I fill it, I can quickly switch that off, and the vacuum would be maintained. So that's my plan for that. So I'm going to now turn my attention today and turn our attention to the system. And I'm going to do like this. Oops, sorry guys for my hand getting in the way. As you can see, I have done a redesign of the system. As you can also see, thank God, the black cyano is pretty much finished. It's run its course. We've got a lot of happy anemones. That's actually 2 anemones right there. Here's number 3, and there's number 4. And they're all doing really well. And I did lose some coralline when I did this, but really it's starting to come back already in several places where it died off. And I think it's just a matter of time before it reestablishes. I mean, you can even see the snails have it, and just about, there's coralline just about everywhere in here, on every rock. So that's a really good thing. As you can see, the fish are doing really good. And yes, I do have a few spots on the glass that definitely, or on the acrylic, I should say, need to be cleaned off. And that is something I'm going to do before long. But right now, my focus is on keeping everybody happy and healthy and parameters stable. And I think that great things are going to come. Now this coral, the anemone that I thought originally was a curlicue anemone actually really was an aptasia, as it turns out. So by some miracle, I was actually able to pull the whole thing out, because it was stuck to a piece of putty that I had originally used to keep this guy mounted. As you can see, it's on its side right now, but I'm going to do something about that here before long. So there are definitely some very good things that are coming to this reef, and I can't wait to share them with you guys. And I want you all to know, and I say this often, but it's true, you guys mean a lot to me. It means a lot to me that you guys even tune in. Even the ones of you who are not subscribed. Yes, you mean a lot to me. And I want to make this reef be the best it can be for all of us. I want it to be something you can enjoy, maybe even something that relaxes you. Not that I'm into ASMR or any of that, but it's still relaxing to watch these guys. And it's especially awesome when you get to see their normal behaviors that you would see in the ocean. So that is pretty much everything. Oh, and this sand area, I have it that way for a reason. There's some really good stuff that'll be coming down the road, including hopefully a Dorasa. I'm going to try to grow a Dorasa clam in here. I think I have a pretty good chance of it, even if it really got to 2 feet. I think this tank could hold it. Because they're going to grow to 2 feet more laterally than they will up and down. Up and down, they probably would get to a foot. And that's if they actually reach their full potential, which most don't. So, it's more likely it'll be about a foot and a half when it's fully mature. This tank, which is very soon going to need first kalkwasser. Once calcium starts getting depleted, more than water changes will allow me to replenish. And then the next, and alkalinity too. But I have baked baking soda that I use, which is soda ash. It's just not the soda ash that you get at the store, because they add all kinds of stuff to that, because people use it for laundry. But when you want to use it for a fish tank, you want food grade. So if you bake baking soda for about an hour at, say, 350, 400 degrees, I prefer to do 400 just to make sure. It'll drive off that extra carbon atom, and it'll just be sodium carbonate instead of sodium bicarbonate. Of course, you could dose it as sodium bicarbonate, but it temporarily lowers the pH of your tank. I'd rather keep it fairly steady. And while, yes, the baked baking soda can actually raise your pH a little bit, it isn't for very long term, and it isn't all that bad. So, it's not a drastic rise, is what I'm trying to say. So, at any rate, guys, I think that is all I have for today. And, like I said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to make some video. It's a little more concise, a little better scripted. And I am going to show you how this ATO goes together. That'll be this week, but also this week, the ultimate unboxing is coming. And wait till you see the pieces he's sending me. This is going to be an incredible journey. To be honest, these are my first acropora. And while I know what to do, I also know that, they definitely require major league stability. And I pretty much have that. The ATO will seal it, however. Because if the salinity doesn't fluctuate and the water level doesn't fluctuate, none of the other chemicals will fluctuate in value. Because think of it, if you evaporate water from the system, it's not just the salt that stays in, it's the nitrates, it's the phosphates, the alkalinity, they all go up. Because now it's more concentrated. So as long as it does not get to that point, those parameters should pretty much stay the same. At least when you first introduce acropora and montipora to your system. And while montipora is a lot more forgiving than acropora, the acropora that I'm getting, they are all easy acroporas. So, anyway, with that said, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and I really do appreciate you all. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. And remember, reef smarter, not harder, and always get the best bang for the buck. That's the Budget Reefer way, and I'll see you on another day.